Okay. All right. This just in. Pooh Eater 23 has dropped another banger upload. Authorities are telling civilians to like and subscribe. We check in now with the Druid on scene.
Yo, alright. So, after my last video, I saw a bunch of questions of people not knowing how to build a Life Bloom Druid or having questions about like just in general how to play it. So I put together a bunch of the questions that I saw and I got a couple DMs, a couple questions. So I'm just gonna go through the questions and try to explain all of it. So the first question, magic, healing, or will, or both? So magic healing basically adds just one flat magical healing to your heal, whereas magic power scales down a percentage. So magic healing as a stat is just way better to build. And especially after the magic power nerfs, I don't think it's worth investing in like at all outside of your perks. So if you have like Sun and Moon or Dreamwalk, you know, those give you magic power. I would say that's the only like area you should get magic power from. Next question is, how do I set up a healer druid, gear, stats, spell setup? So you should start with just maxing your magical healing, so getting 3 on the chest, 3 on the necklace, 2 on the rings, and then getting demon grips and demon clouds with 3 each, and getting 2 on your weapons, of course. Then build enough knowledge to have enough memcap for all your spells, and enough cast speed to confidently cast treants and stuff, and getting all your heals out fast enough. And then just get a bunch of HP to be able to survive more. I personally build a bunch of action speed, so like 10 to 15% action speed on my gear, just because the casting animation of the crystal ball feels really terrible without it. And as for your spells, you only have 10 spells on Druid, and you have 10 spell slots, so just put everything on there, and then just leave like Vines, Thorn Wall, Bark Skin as the last 3. I'll do it in order of Thorn Wall, then Vines, then Bark Skin. As they're like the least useful ones. Then we have a question about stat priority. So as I mentioned before, magic healing, knowledge, HP, then action speed. Mag power is just not worth building. You can build PDR as well if you want to. But I don't. Next we have, what weapons are the go-to for Life Bloom Druid? So I always run Rondel Dagger and Crystal Ball if I have the choice. And I use a Spear as my second slot. With uniques in the game, I would roll magic healing on like a Morningstar or a Flanged Mace, Warhammer Club. Just anything that is like really cheap to get like 8 magic healing on. But in general, I prefer to run Rondel Dagger, Crystal Ball, and then I run a Spear in the offhand because I just don't think Ceremonial Staff is worth it. It's just too slow, and if you miss a heal, then you're basically wasting like you're getting so little for the detriment of it. So I would not use it. Next is Spirit Bond usable in trios? Yes, it is. They fixed the bug that was making it like just do extra damage, and they buffed it to 5% more, so it's 20% damage now. And I think in dungeons, because you're gonna be playing like a backline mostly, you're not gonna be really getting hit that often. I think it's way better than Thorncoat. But I haven't played nearly enough to say if it's better or worse than Sun and Moon. So I can't say if it's better with Sun and Moon, but it's just preference. You can probably play like either of them. I don't think it's that much of a difference. Then we have, does Dreamfire scale with magical power? Yes, Dreamfire scales with magic power. Every single heal that you have on Druid is scaling on magical power, except for Mending Grove. And that's decided by the scaling number on the spell. So it'll say like it'll heal for 30 HP and then in parentheses 0.05 or 0.5, for example, as a restore. And that basically means that half of your magic power is going to be added as a percentage to that 30 plus magic healing multiplied by the scaling number. So everything is scaled on magic power. But as I said before, I don't think it's just not worth building. After the nerf, yeah, it's just not worth it. Sun and Moon or Thorn Coat in arenas. So in arenas, it's very different to the dungeons. People are playing a lot more aggressive and not really that cautiously. So I like Thorncoat because oftentimes you'll have like maybe two people or just someone just full inting trying to kill you. And if you have heals going, you have decent HP, you'll be hit like maybe 5 times and just return a bunch of damage to the enemy. So I think Thorncoat is better in arenas, but it's up to like personal preference in arenas. It doesn't really matter much because after all, you don't lose anything. Then we have another question about arenas. What's your role in arena fights? When do you focus damage and healing? So I don't really focus damage nearly at all in arenas. I mostly focus about controlling space and just treating people off, and thorn walling, keeping my team safe and healed. So oftentimes I would play with, like, if I'm playing with a wizard, for example, I'm gonna play next to the wizard and just try to keep people off the wizard with thorn walls and treants. And then if I'm playing with my front line, I will try to heal him and try to catch the enemy with a treant or a thorn wall. So if someone's running up a staircase, for example, I'll put a thorn wall in front of them because they can't jump over it on the sloped surface. And then I will pocket my teammate because the enemy's gonna turn around and fight him. So you're mostly just looking for some way to catch the enemy with your CCs. And then, of course, you're keeping your teammates healed with your spells. We have a question about team comps and play style. So, what are the best comps? I like to just have like a decent frontline and some kind of range damage. For example, I play with if I play with a barb, I'd like a wizard or a ranger because barb and druid just have no range at all. So having a wizard or like a ranger is gonna give you that extra range damage. But I think ranger is not really that good with barb. So I think just going wizard and barb is the better option. I particularly like playing with a warlock. If I'm playing with a plate warlock, then I can play with a bard. Because the warlock can play the range damage, and you can have crossbow on the bard. So you still have the same range damage, and your warlock can curse a weakness, blow of corruption, spell pred to defeat other front lines. So I think warlock is probably one of my favorites to play with as a druid. And then you also have, of course, frontline cleric, which is just a bit stupidly strong. With barb and having the savage war buff, I think cleric isn't as much of like a insane class, um, because you don't have the extra range from warlock, and you're forced to melee fight with the 30% fizz power bonus from savage war. So I don't think cleric is that like crazy anymore. I'd say warlock or barb are my favorites to play with as a frontline. Basically, just any frontline, any range class. And then we have, how do I IGL as a healer? IGLing is basically just calling out who you're gonna be targeting, what you're gonna do, and I try to instead just call out who I'm looking for. For example, if I'm looking at a team, I'm saying, okay, this guy is playing kind of out of position. I'm gonna look for a treant on him or look for this and that. So my teammates know, like, okay, at any point now, I'm gonna call out like push this guy. I like to call out when people have heals going. For example, if my teammate's like 2/3 health and he's starting to look a bit hesitant about pushing, I'm gonna tell him like, you have all heals going, you can push. When I give them, for example, 3 alive, I'll tell them you can play now, you have 3. Stuff like that. Telling my frontline, particularly when they have nature touch, is quite important to make sure that they know that they're getting dreamfired if they need it. But yeah, just calling out what you're doing, like what's happening for your team, because the buff bar is quite annoying to read at the bottom of the screen. So telling your teammates when they have heals and stuff is gonna make things a lot smoother. So we have a question about when to get active and how do you build stats to ensure you get value from this. Getting active is like a very small bit of the support druid playstyle, but to build for it, I always get 5 true on my kit, so I get 1 on the neck, 2 on the rings, 1 on the cloak, and 1 on the gloves. And basically, it's just if your teammate's hitting someone and they're blocking a lot, and you're basically guaranteed to win, or if you're like full health, you can always go for like a couple stabs, or even swap to your spear and hit them in the legs. if there's a teammate, like a person blocking a doorway, for example, just using the spear to get free damage is always just a good option. So I just thought I'd chime in real quick. This is editing me. Um, buff duration on Druid is almost completely useless because the buff duration stat only increases the incoming buffs. So if you want your teammates to have like longer heals, you should build buff duration, like your teammates should build buff duration. But yeah, that concludes all the major questions I've gotten so far. Um, if there's anything you're still curious about after this, just if I can comment it, and I'll or just DM me. I don't mind, and I'll try to answer the questions. If this helps you, you know, you gotta subscribe and like. That's like rules. Um, but yeah, good luck in the dungeons. I hope this video helps. Poiter out.